I need to know who you are.
No, you don't.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I'm not speeding. I am not intoxicated. I have given you no reason to stop me, and this irritates me. And I would be very happy to go into town and talk to the supervisor. Sir, you cannot. This is my...
Step out of the vehicle.
No, sir. You cannot reach into this vehicle.
Sure I can.
You cannot.
I got to know who you are.
You do not.
I must know who you are before you can go down the road.
I have not broken any laws.
I have not accused you of breaking any laws, ma'am.
You just reached in my vehicle and opened this door and are demanding
I have no idea who you are.
The officer admits she's done nothing wrong, but she still must present her papers, all part of being guilty until proven innocent.
I need to know who you are. Do you have a driver's
You
license?
just proved to me you don't have probable cause because you don't know who I am.
Okay, shut your ignition off for me.
Pardon me?
Turn your car off for me.
Why do I have to...
Because I'm asking you to turn my car off.
You are violating my United States constitutional rights. Any laws that go contrary to the United States Constitution are null and void, and I do not have to submit to them. I am not intoxicated. You have already stated you don't know who I am, so therefore...
that's the whole point. I don't know who you are. I've told you who I am. Okay, this is an approved checking detail site. Are you going to tell me who you are?
No, sir.
You're not going to tell me who you are?
You have not charged me with anything. You've not told me I've done anything wrong, and I do not owe you that, sir, because I don't serve you. You serve me.
Okay.
Because when you take one, you take another, and before you know it, we can't go anywhere without our papers, and that's what this is. May I see your papers, please? You can't travel down this road, ma'am, unless you show me your papers, please. You've already told me that the stickers are in order. I wasn't traveling in undue speed. I've done nothing wrong, and this is absolutely wrong. Don't reach inside my vehicle.
I'm going to place you under arrest for obstruction of justice.
What am I obstructing, sir? Sir!
Step out of the car for me. Step out of the car for me.
You are physically forcing me
out of the car.
No, sir, don't you touch any of my personal belongings in this car. You're right, I've recorded this conversation.
That's assault.
Yes, I did.
Resisting arrest.
It is not assault.
I'll get the car.
Don't you take one single item out of my vehicle, sir. I'm not fighting you.
You're under arrest for resisting arrest, obstruction of justice, and assault on a police officer.
I did not assault you.
Think about our priorities in America. At a warrantless Fourth Amendment violating checkpoint, they pull over a housewife with no criminal records. When she simply doesn't want to get out of her car, they grab her and charge her with assaulting them. Let's take a closer look and you can judge for yourself what this thought criminal has done.
Sir!
Step out of the car for me. Step out of the car for me.
You are physically forcing me
out of the car.
No, sir, don't you touch any of my personal belongings in this car. You're right, I've recorded this conversation.
That's assault.
Yes, I did.
Resisting arrest.
It is not assault.
I'll get the car.
Don't take one thing
You have the
out
right
of
to
this
remain
vehicle.
silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in court. You have the right to speak to an attorney and have him present while you're being questioned. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, one will be appointed to represent you without any cost to you before any questions if you desire one. Do you understand those rights as they've been read to you? Do you understand your rights as they've been read to you?
They're not concerned with our borders being wide open. The tens of millions of containers coming in each year that aren't even searched. No, they're worried about a woman on the side of the road and what she's reading, what she's thinking, what she's doing. This is the first generation thought police right here in the United States. This type of activity is totally un-American. These officers should be ashamed of themselves.
I want to see it there now. Strategies of submarine warfare. Hidden agenda. Call to serve.
Man, she's into this weird crap.
Power plays, ruthless.com, The Bear and the Dragon, Patriot Games.
Here's where things really get interesting as they begin to dig through her car and find what they consider subversive material.
Well, I just will get a record started.
Yeah. You don't ask her, you just want to get the next one.
I want to get the next one. She's invoked her right to remain silent, even though she don't believe in our laws.
Even though she don't believe in our laws, no, trooper, it's you that don't know our laws. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall be issued but upon probable cause.
You wouldn't believe all the paraphernalia in here. I mean, look at this clipboard right here. Check me out. Comment upon voluntary nature of Social Security. It's a whole riot act. on why you don't have to have a Social Security card to pay into Social
She's
Security.
just anti-government, yeah.
She apparently belongs to some kind of a clan or something.
Militant group.
Yeah, it's Dixieland Law Journal, Constitution Society. I mean, all kind of compulsory production of documents.
Anti-government, a member of the Klan for knowing her constitutional rights, for being a member of the Constitutional Society. The FBI training of our police has really paid off.
I mean, this is...
She's definitely studied on it, hasn't she?
I'm telling you what is the truth. I wonder if I can keep that for any reason.
Well, is it evidence of a crime? You know, if it relates back to obstruction of justice, I would say yes.
I mean, I think obstruction of justice is...
That would be the appropriate charge.
Good.
Yeah. And that relates to it. That's why she did it. I mean, it may actually... She may be the one that would want to bring that to court. I don't know.
I don't know either. I mean, it'd probably be fine reading, but I'm not sure if I can seize it or not.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know that this is illegal.
Exactly.
I think she can read that all.
Yeah.
I think she can read it all she wants to.
Now this, if they've actually outlawed that is, and I think they have.
Abby Newman was vindicated by it.
Hate crimes legislation is a bad idea on steroids.
Dr. Richard Land is the president of the Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission of the Southern Baptist Convention.
The idea that you're going to prosecute someone more severely because of the motive, the supposed motive of their crime, is absurd. If somebody murders someone, they should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law, no matter why they murdered them. When you start trying to make thoughts and motivations as opposed to behaviors illegal, then there's no way that you're not going to restrict freedom of speech.
Opponents of so-called hate crime laws point out that such laws often go far beyond merely covering violent crimes to punishing speech that some find offensive.
But in the case of hate speech, it is simply that someone perceives that you hate them and that therefore they feel that they are in danger, and therefore that is hate speech. That is extraordinarily dangerous. This will silence churches, which is their great desire, that churches, ultimately Christian schools, may not be able to say anything negative about homosexuality. And it's this kind of thing that's gaining momentum in Canada, and they're beginning to see efforts in this direction in California, and the time is coming, and not long hence, where they will be able, if this hate speech stuff is passed, to say that was a hate crime, and therefore you are guilty, and they could shut down churches, they could send pastors to prison for simply reading a part of the Bible.
But what about free exercise of religion? I mean, how do you jettison one of the major tenets of the First Amendment so easily? How will that happen to us?
Well, as has been said, they will say that some right of the state trumps the freedom of religion. They've already said that, and therefore they can just discard that if they value laws protecting homosexuals more than laws protecting Christians. That won't be of any help.
We should never allow the government to decide what is acceptable speech and what is unacceptable speech. We should penalize behaviors, not opinions, and not speech. If you start trying to regulate speech, you start trying to regulate thoughts, you start trying to regulate beliefs rather than behaviors, there's no way that you're not going to abridge the constitutional rights of millions of Americans.
To basically say that they're not going to allow us to come into the public streets to share the gospel. And certainly we went ahead and tried our best to communicate what we were there to do, and that was to share the message that homosexuality is sin and Christ can set you free. Police, instead of dealing with those who were acting disorderly, which was the homosexual group who were blowing these loud piercing whistles and engaged in blocking us with these styrofoam boards that were cut into the form of angels, they had surrounded us and began to follow us around. The police didn't deal with that situation, even though I had asked.
Instead, police arrested the members of Repent America and took them to jail. Arlene Elshenaway is a 75-year-old grandmother who demonstrated with Repent America that day.
I'd never been arrested for any reason whatsoever. We were handcuffed and taken into the paddy wagon, which was without windows, so that we really didn't know where we were going, where we were being driven to. We ended up at some police station. To this day, I don't know where.
Ted Hoppe, an attorney affiliated with the Alliance Defense Fund, represented the so-called Philadelphia 11.
They ultimately were arrested, charged with disorderly conduct, put in handcuffs, and taken away.
It all began in 1996 when a homosexual activist from the Canadian Lesbian and Gay Archives asked him to print some of their letterhead and propaganda.
I simply didn't want to produce material that this organization would use to raise funds, further its goals, advance its ideals. And so that was the issue. It wasn't him at all. It was the organization that I didn't want to help promote. I said, well, I'm a born-again Christian, and I think the Bible has a lot to say about this issue, and I'm sorry, but I can't print this material. So gathered up his proofs, and out he went, and sure enough, 2 weeks later, in came a registered letter from the Ontario Human Rights Commission saying that I had discriminated against Mr. Brillinger, I had violated his human rights, but that all would be forgiven for $5,000 and a letter of apology.
Instead, he decided to defend himself.
At the Board of Inquiry, the adjudicator, Heather McNaughton, she decided that I couldn't ever refuse any work based on my beliefs, period. She said that I was free to practice my religion in my home and in my Christian community, period. That's it. But my beliefs aren't some adjunct to my life. My beliefs aren't some secondary component to my life. My love for God, my faith, that is my life.
If hate crime law is passed, they're telling me that I am more valuable as a lesbian than I am as an ex-lesbian. And I don't think that's true. I think no matter if you're a lesbian or you're not a lesbian, no matter who you are, I think you're valuable as a human being.
There are hundreds and even thousands of men and women that have changed their sexual orientation. And so it is not the same thing as even the civil rights movement or, anything like that. And so...
You didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen. We will keep this promise. If you like your doctor, you keep seeing your doctor. If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. Save a typical family an average of $2,500. I'll make our government open and transparent. We're building a transparent process.
No matter what you've heard, if you like your doctor or healthcare plan, you can keep it. If you don't have insurance, you'll finally be able to afford it.
Women of the party and collaboration with the leader of the underground, the arch traitor, Calador.
You didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen.
6748 Smith W.
Yes?
What's in the briefcase?
I brought some work home with me. I was about to write an article on the grammar of newspeak.
Bring it to the screen and open it.
Long live Big Brother!
نحن نحب عمران لك، نحن نصلي من أجل سلامتك وسعادتك. الرجاء محاولة الوصول عندما يمكنك عن عائلتك، كيف هم اليوم؟
Go, I say go away. You bother me.